You are listening to Woodland Walks, a podcast for the Woodland Trust, presented by Adam Shaw. We protect and plant trees for people to enjoy, to fight climate change and to help wildlife thrive.
Singer Elaine Paige shot to fame as the star of the West End musical Evita. Almost literally plucked from the chorus line, she became Britain's first lady of musicals, winning an Olivier Award, having a top 10 hit with Memory from Cats, a huge selling I Know Him So Well, and now she has her own BBC Two radio show, Elaine Paige on Sunday. She's also a keen supporter of the Woodland Trust and was at the Hainault forest planting trees, which is where I met her as I hovered behind the spades, ready to chat to her about her views on the environment, woodlands, music, and her hopes for the future.
Oh well, what we're planting here today, because we've got something rather special for you.
Oh, do you?
What we've got here today are black poplars.
Ooh, black poplar.
Yeah, Poplars nigra, which is it's a nationally quite a rare tree. It's a great feature of sort of East Anglia's more wetter areas, you know, Essex and Suffolk alongside rivers and ponds, and they're a massive tree. It will be.
That's ironic.
So yeah, you are planting the biggest trees out here, and we have male and female.
Right. Okay.
So you can have a choice whether you feel you want to plant a male or a
Well, how does this work? I mean, do you plant them next to each other so that one impregnates the other?
they're wind pollinated, so they have catkins.
Are they? Do they look exactly the same? What's the difference other than their sex?
They do look pretty much the same, really.
Do they?
Yeah.
I'll go for the girl then.
Yeah.
Up the girls.
They
We'll defend the women in the world.
The girls.
One here and one there.
Yeah.
Can we do two? Both of them?
We can do
That's
tonight.
Oh, perfect.
Especially when you've got somebody digging the hole for you.
Could be here all day.
One of the biggest trees you can plant, are they? Did you say?
Yeah, and quickest. These are quick. Once these get going, these will grow anywhere sort of 4 to 6 feet a year.
Wow.
Given a good, and it's
That's
nice.
good then, because
And they're down here because
I'm
it's
only
nice.
4'11", so it's going to outgrow me in no time at all.
Well, I suppose we should start with why on earth the Woodland Trust? Why is nature, the open air, sort of important to you?
Well, you know, as a child, I was born and brought up in Barnet in Hertfordshire, and we lived in a maisonette on the high road over a greengrocer's, and right next door to the high street was Hadley Wood, and when you walk through the wood, the other side of it there's Jacks's Lake, and as a young girl, you know, really young, 7 or 8 or something like that, my mother would allow me and friends to take a picnic. She would make a picnic basket for us, and we would cycle across Hadley Common, down the hill, not Bells Hill, but down the hill anyway, through Hadley Wood, and walk or cycle through the wood and to the other side to Jacks's Lake, where we would sit by the lake and have our picnic, as long as we were home by 5 for tea.
Okay.
But that was my memories of childhood, and that space, you know, the common, Hadley Common and the woods played an important part in my childhood.
But I mean, you're quite an active supporter now of the Woodland Trust, and indeed involved in tree planting.
Very much so, yes. Because, you know, as we all are becoming more and more aware about climate change and everything, and the good that the trees do, you know, the oxygen they create, and we know that they remove pollution and clean the air for us to be able to breathe. And they do so many good things for us, you know.
And I suppose for much of your career, you must have been, enormously long hours, but in dark theatres,
Exactly.
very away from those open
Exactly
spaces.
right. So I've lived the life, really, of over 50 years of being cooped up in theatres, as you say, in dark spaces, and sometimes no windows even in the dressing room. So, so my life has been the complete opposite of how I grew up. and what I know about, what I remember as my childhood. So, so it's complete opposite. And now I'm obviously less in the theatre. I'm not doing 8 shows a week anymore.
No.
I've got the opportunity again to be able to be back outdoors, and I do love it.
I know you're not in the theatre as much, but you're still very active. I mean, you're still...
Yeah, I do my radio show
you do.
every week,
Very famous
which I
radio
just
show.
heard today. The figures have gone up again, so I'm chuffed.
It's quite something to be proud of. You are the first lady of British musicals, aren't you?
It's a bit of a funny title, that really, but I suppose it's something that, looking back now, I suppose, as I'm more inclined to do over my career, it is something that I'm proud of. That who would have thought, a girl from Barnet would end up on Broadway? I mean, it's almost unthinkable, really, because. My family roots, though there was music in the family, my father was an estate agent, but he was a drummer. That was the thing he loved most, was music.
Just not professionally?
No,
he
was an amateur drummer. He had his own band called the Arcadians, and every weekend, every Friday and Saturday night, he would take off with Joe Passy and the rest of the guys in the band, come whatever the weather as well, and would go off and they played gigs in parks and things, in the summer months.
Did you sing with him?
I never sang with my dad in a band, no, unfortunately.
Why not?
I don't know, because I was young and they didn't have a singer. They just played old time music, know. But he and my mother met through music, really. There was a thing during the war, just before the war and through the war, called Concert Party. And I don't know if it was run by the British Legion or some faction like that. But they met as young people through the Concert Party. My mother did sing. She had a lovely voice, although again she never really sang much around the house. Never heard her sing. I never saw her perform. Never saw them. But there was music in the family.
So where did your performance come from?
Well,
then?
I think from them. That's what I'm saying.
But what was your but if it wasn't a natural thing, your father's an estate agent. You weren't
My mother
singing.
was a milliner.
Okay, so all of a sudden you come on the scene.
At school. It was at school, like lots of kids. I used to sing in the school choir.
Right.
And our music teacher, who was the woman really, Anne Hill, who I'm still in touch with, she was the one really that guided me, I suppose, and changed my life, because she would give me the odd, solo to sing in the end of term production.
Do you remember your first?
Yes, that is Mozart anyway. It was Mozart.
Oh, it was some classical stuff.
Oh yes, no, she was into. We used to sing Handel's Messiah, and she did a thing. It was kind of like Mama Mozart, really.
Right.
But it was all Mozart's hits.
Right.
She gave me this solo to sing in this end of term thing, and of course all the parents come, and my father and mother came always to support the kids, to support me, and at the end of the, I thought I'd zip it up a bit, make it a bit emotional, the song. Even though it was in Italian, I didn't know what it was about. And I did this in the song, and I can always remember hearing all the parents go, there was this terrible gasp, because they believed that I had actually broken down in the song. And in fact, though, I was acting my socks off. And at the end of the performance, my father and mother came back to see me and said, well done, darling, you sang beautifully, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then my dad said, but you broke down a bit there, didn't you? And I said, no, I was acting. I meant to do it. And not long after that, he must have had a conversation with my mother, and he said to me, he asked me if I would like to go to drama school. And I said, oh, yes, I couldn't think of anything better than to be able to go off into a drama school and learn my craft, and just do that all day, every day, not have to worry about academia anymore. And so that's what happened, and I went off. They paid for me to go to Ada Foster's drama school in Golders Green for a 3-year student course.
And did it, when you left there, did success come quickly, or was it?
No, I struggled and got odd jobs, and I was always seemed to be doing something or other, bits and bobs.
So was there a moment that you thought, gosh, this is going to work?
No, the opposite. I think about 1974, I did a musical at Drury Lane with Michael Crawford, and
What musical was
It was
that?
called Billy.
Billy, yeah.
And it was the first time that
Billy Liar, wasn't
Billy
it?
Liar.
I
It was based on
remember
the
it,
play
yeah.
Billy Liar, yes, by Keith Waterhouse, and I won the part of Rita, who was a northern. She was just a northern and out there in your face, and so that was the beginning, really, for me, of being able to create a role and everything.
Yeah.
I struggled again for another couple of years. Did a bit of TV here, and I'd do a play up in Birmingham or something, odds and sods, really.
Yeah.
And then I suppose about 1970, late 76, 77, I was becoming disillusioned, because I'd already now been in the business since I was 18, and I was heading towards my 30th birthday. I was like getting into my later 20s, and I just couldn't get the parts that I wanted. And so I started to think, maybe I just don't have what it takes. And I can remember having this discussion with my dad about it, and he used to say to me, perseverance furthers. And he said, you must have something, because they're always calling you back. You always get down to the last three, which was true. I'd always get down to the last three people, and then they'd say thank you, and I'd get the old elbow, get the heave-ho. But I always remember my dad saying that to me, persevere. I'm sure. I just think you've got to wait for the right part. But it always seemed that I was too short for everything. I was too short for this, too short for that, because leading men were average, and I'm tiny. I'm only like 4'11".
So when was the change? Because you made it big eventually. We're near the end of the story, don't we?
No, we're not at the end of the story. So I was on the brink of thinking, oh, this is hopeless. I'm never going to get anywhere, earn a living. I didn't want to become a star or anything, or become famous. I just wanted to have a working life and earn a proper living. And it was not looking good. And then in 1978, a musical came along called Evita, and the leading lady, Evita, Eva Perón, was only 5'1" or something, 5'2". So they were particularly looking for a short person, a short lady. And of course, by then I thought, right, I'm going to show you what I can do now. And nobody could, though nevertheless, I got down to the last three and thought, here we go again. And I thought, I know I'm going to get the old heave-ho again. But I didn't. I got the job. And of course it was extraordinary, even more extraordinary, because everybody, they had, searched worldwide for somebody to play the role. So it was even more special, really, because it wasn't just any old audition. It was like the casting of Gone with the Wind, apparently, somebody once said to me, trying to find Vivian Leigh. So it was very, very special when I got that role, because there was huge press attention paid to it.
Yes, and you made that role your own. I mean, that's worldwide fame.
It changed my life. It literally did change my life and gave me a career. I mean, I don't know if I would have stuck with it had that not come along, but it was serendipity, I suppose. It came along and saved me.
And was there an actual... I mean, how did you find out? Did they call you, or was it in the rehearsal they went...
No, my agent turned up at my house about midnight. My mother was staying up with me for the weekend after I had given the final audition. I must have auditioned about 8 or 10 times, and my mother was staying with me for the weekend. My father was living down in Sussex. They were both in Sussex at that time, and living in Felpham, and she had come up to stay with me, and the doorbell rang, and I said, well, who the hell can that be at this hour? We were just about to go to bed. And it was my agent. I said, whatever are you doing here? And she said, she was Canadian, and she spoke with a very slow Canadian drawl. And she said, oh, well, Elaine, I am here to tell you. And I said, oh, yes, come on, tell me. Why are you here this late? You come to give me the bad news. No, I have come to tell you that the part, just tell me. The part of Eva Perón is, I went, yes. And she said, yours. And I couldn't believe it, that I'd won this part, that I got the role that everybody was after. Everybody in the industry, famous people as well, like, I don't know, Barbara Streisand, Bette Midler, you name them, everybody was up for that role, Liza, everybody.
So what sort of difference did it make to your life?
Well, it changed it completely. First of all, I mean, I had no more time to myself after that. I was always working at all hours a day. First of all, on that show, I mean, I would rehearse from 10 in the morning till 6 at night. Then I would go off and stand for 3 hours of costume fittings. And then I would have to learn the songs and learn my lines and do interviews, all these things that I was completely unused to doing.
And was the musical written, or were they writing it with you?
No,
almost?
It was written. It was already written. It was a piece already written, and Don't Cry for Me Argentina, the major song from the piece, had already achieved success in the charts with Julie Covington's version. So it was made as an album initially, and then they staged it, I guess, a year or so after the album's success.
I mean, it does seem that the UK is good at creating musicals. I wonder why.
Well,
do you not think so?
I think to the contrary, really, because I always think that America is... I think that really America is much more prolific at writing new stuff than we are. I mean, we did have that wonderful Renaissance period that I was lucky enough to be involved in, with shows like Jesus Christ Superstar, Evita, Cats, Sunset Boulevard, and so on.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's
I
a
know,
lot of
but
stuff.
that was like an era. It was a wonderful era of writing, coming from the pens of, really, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, predominantly. So I think, really... Currently, I think it's always been the case, other than these odd moments that we get with British writing, is predominantly in America. That's where all the musicals come from. I mean, just even now, over the last few years, we've got, from America, we've got musicals, Dear Evan Hansen, that's American, original story. We've got Hamilton, that's American. Book of Mormon was an American original piece. Beetlejuice. There's a thing at the moment called Sing Street, which I don't really know much about, but that's, I believe, American. Rock of Ages. I mean, that's all coming out of America. And then, of course, you've got all their classics like Carousel and Oklahoma and My Fair Lady, going way back when. But, and what have we got here? We've got Six, which is about Henry VIII's him up there on the hill, and everybody's talking about Jamie. That's two musicals in, not, so it's. I think we need to nurture more new writing here. It's a strange thing. I don't think musical theatre is quite. I mean, it has grown and changed. I think the perception of musical theatre has changed in the public domain now.
In what way?
Well, I think when I was in musical theatre, even though those were fantastic musicals, it was there was a snobbish. And I think it still exists to some degree here in this country. There's a snobism attached to musicals.
Just a musical.
Just a musical, exactly. We're about Shakespeare and the classics. Whereas in America, it's the opposite. They love musical theatre and they adore it and they follow it and they're interested in it. And after the show, I was lucky enough to appear on Broadway in Sunset Boulevard and Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd and things, and Follies. And when I was there, working there, the audiences, they gather around, they wait at the stage door, hundreds and hundreds of them, can't wait to talk to you, and they want to talk to you about the character and the piece and the music and the composition and the lyrics. They're really attached to it in a way that we're not here in quite the same way.
Look, I mean, looking back at so many of those roles, is there one that speaks to you more than the others?
Well, obviously Evita will always be the one, because that really did change my life forever. Then I went and did Cats, although it was, because Judi Dench had injured herself, I came to it in not from the original choice, if you like, but nevertheless it was a huge success and it was innovative. It was something fresh and completely new. Nobody had ever seen anything like it on the stage before. So, and I played in Hair when I was in the chorus, learning my art and craft. Sunset Boulevard, what an amazing role that was to play. And to be able to, and that took me to Broadway, you know. So I was able to, after 18 years it took me from Evita to get to Broadway. Right. 18 more years before I got there. I didn't go with Evita, I didn't go with Cats, I didn't go with Chess. And so it was like I was being foiled all the time. But then when it did happen, it seemed to be at the right time.
Yes.
So, you know, and Piaf, to play Edith Piaf in the play, that because Peter Hall was directing, he said, "Oh, but you can sing, we want to hear you sing as well." So he turned the play, Pam Gem's play, into a musical. So I was on stage for over 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Nearly killed me playing her. But it was the most fantastic experience because it was a wonderful play, Pam Gem's, written by Pam Gems. And Chess, of course, gave me a #1 hit single, which is very rare in musical theatre.
Do you still sing a lot?
No.
Not even for yourself?
No.
No?
No, actually, the other day I was thinking, gosh, because I'm thinking about making an album this year, perhaps.
Wow.
I thought I better start singing again, see if I can still do it.
Well, not
because
even in the bathroom?
No.
Well, I'm astounded.
No, never sing at home, no.
Why not?
I listen to music a
it's so
bit,
much
but not enough, not
so
a lot.
much a part of your life.
I know, but that is my working life. You see, that's the thing. When your hobby becomes your work, then it's not a hobby anymore, it's your work. So you only do it when you're working.
So we might have an album coming out.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. I'm talking about it at the moment.
Wow. On any particular theme, or not sure yet?
Well, I'm kind of thinking to look back at my life, really, you know, and to try and somehow find songs that, you know, not being a writer, I have to find lyrics and stories in the songs. You know, that's why I like Stephen Sondheim, because they're all kind of like playlists.
Yes.
Each song is a whole story. And so I'm trying to find songs at the moment that will speak for me and about my life. That's the idea.
So, I mean, just bring it back to where we are now. You've come out to plant some trees.
Yes.
And I know you are a big supporter of this sort of environmental movement. I just wonder whether you are optimistic or pessimistic that the things that you and others are doing will make enough of a change quick enough.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's partly why I want to do this. I mean, I've kind of set myself a goal that, you know, I'm going to plant trees every year. How many I'm able to do, I don't know. But I want to kind of create some kind of little bit of a forest somewhere.
People can't see you on the podcast, but you're wearing a fantastic hat.
Under my hat. As I said, my mum was a milliner, so if you want to get ahead, get a hat. So, no. But, so here we are. And so I planted a few trees today, which is very exciting. And hopefully they all look, you know, all in a line. And hopefully in a few years I'll come back and there'll be... And it was a poplar, a black poplar tree that I planted today.
Right, okay.
Apparently.
So we'll come back in a couple of years and
I think so,
see
yeah.
how much Elaine Paige's tree has grown.
Yeah, let's see how... Well, he said it would grow, you know, over 4 feet in a couple of years. I said, well, you know, I'm only 4'11", so it's going to beat me by a mile.
Well, Elaine Paige, it's been a treat to talk to you. Thank you for sparing the time.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So, if you're ever wandering around a woodland and confused by the sight of one of Britain's most famous musical stars measuring her height against a tree, well, you know exactly what she's up to. And I should also say, not only thanks to Elaine Paige, obviously, but if you do want to wander around a woodland near you, you can find your local forest by going to thewoodlandtrust.org.uk/find a wood. That is woodlandtrust.org.uk/find a wood. Happy wandering.
Thank you for listening to the Woodland Trust Woodland Walks. Join us next month when Adam will be taking another walk in the company of Woodland Trust staff, partners and volunteers. And don't forget to subscribe to the series on iTunes or wherever you're listening to us, and do give us a review and a rating. And why not send us a recording of your favourite woodland walk to be included in a future podcast? Keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes, and please tell us what makes your woodland walk special. Or send us an email with details of your favourite walk and what makes it special to you. Send any audio files to podcast@woodlandtrust.org.uk, and we look forward to hearing from you.